Hi guys, this is the Edge for July the 12th, whereby we look back a week, find out what went on, why it went on, and the performance, what we observed in the markets, and very importantly, what's coming up this next week. So, very important document. Be informed, get your edge. The Daily Edge can be subscribed to in the links below. This is the Weekly Edge, gives you a summary. Enjoy the video.
On Wednesday, the ceasefire between the United States and Iran collapsed. Following attacks on commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. launched retaliatory strikes and revoked the waiver allowing Iranian crude to reach world markets. The immediate reaction in the energy markets followed standard logic. WTI crude spiked roughly 5% intraday, pushing near $76 a barrel and finishing the week up nearly 3.5%. But outside of the energy complex, standard market logic broke. During a major military escalation in the world's most critical energy choke point, traditional safe haven assets sold off. Gold fell over 1.5%, and the Swiss franc weakened across the board. At the same time, risk assets in the United States rallied. The tech-heavy Nasdaq 100 actually climbed 1.74%. Historical asset correlations have broken. Global markets are currently trapped between two opposing forces, a supply-side energy shock on one hand and a synchronized hawkish pivot from central banks on the other. Capital is no longer flowing based on the fear of war. It is moving in response to a hawkish monetary regime, where the specific composition of an index determines its survival. This dynamic created a violent fracture in global equities last week. The damage from the oil spike was highly localized. This chart shows 5-day moves across major global equity indices. Notice the immense spread. In Europe, the German DAX fell 2.8%, the worst on the board, while the French CAC 40 lost over 2.2%. Europe is the developed world's most energy import-dependent economic bloc. They absorb the full cost of any disruption in the Middle East. Furthermore, the indices themselves are heavily weighted toward industrials, chemicals, and auto manufacturers. Every one suffers immediate margin compression the moment crude prices spike. The United States sits in a completely different structural position. As a net energy exporter, the U.S. economy has a built-in hedge against rising oil. As a result, the headline U.S. markets ignored the energy crisis entirely, with both the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq closing the week in the green. During an energy shock, geography matters less than index composition. Industrial-heavy indices bleed capital, while service and software-heavy indices insulate it. However, looking only at the headline S&P 500 numbers gives a false impression of universal strength in the U.S. market. Beneath the surface, the parts of the market most sensitive to the cost of money were punished. The Dow Jones gave up early gains to post a weekly loss, and the small-cap Russell 2000 fell nearly 0.2%. This is what poor market breadth looks like. A few massive companies are currently masking the weakness of the broader market. The Nasdaq was carried entirely by mega-cap technology and AI-adjacent companies. Their software margins are essentially indifferent to the cost of crude oil. That trade was further accelerated by SK Hynix's record-breaking $26.5 billion U.S. listing, which reignited AI optimism right in the middle of a geopolitical crisis. The U.S. did not experience a broad market rally. A handful of margin-resilient tech monopolies provided a false sense of security, while cyclicals went backward. This brings us to the commodities board and the central question of last week's trading. Why did precious metals crash while missiles were flying? The answer is monetary policy. The Federal Reserve's dot plot currently projects further rate hikes, and last week, the 30-year Treasury yield pushed back above the critical 5% threshold. This creates a dynamic driven by the real rate channel. Investors must weigh the premium of geopolitical fear against the opportunity cost of holding a non-yielding asset when risk-free rates hit 5%. The mathematical gravity of a 5% yield crushes the psychological reaction to war. Silver took an even harder hit, falling over 4%. It acts as the highest beta loser in this regime, absorbing the exact same monetary headwind as gold, plus the added fear of an industrial slowdown caused by the oil shock. We see this exact same real rate logic governing the foreign exchange market, explaining the bizarre behavior of the Swiss franc. This chart tracks the 5-day moves in major currency pairs. The US dollar posted its biggest gain on the board against the franc, rising 0.65%. The world's primary safe haven currency weakened during a military escalation because yield differentials, currency carry trades, dominate risk aversion. In a synchronized hawkish world, capital strictly follows real rates. Traditional geopolitical fear premiums are overwhelmed by the cost of money. All of this data now funnels into a single high-stakes 90-minute window on Tuesday. There is a fundamental chronological asymmetry between how official inflation data is calculated and the reality the market is currently trading. This chart tracks WTI crude oil over 6 weeks. Throughout June, WTI plummeted 20% on a peace deal that has since fallen apart. In July, that trend violently reversed with the ceasefire's collapse. Because Tuesday's official CPI release only measures June, the headline number will look artificially benign. Estimates point to headline inflation dropping to roughly 3.8%. The market's primary inflation gauge is structurally backward-looking. It is completely blind to the live energy shock currently underway. This creates an immediate trap. At 13:30 BST, algorithms and retail traders will see that soft 3.8% headline and trigger a massive relief rally. But that rally will hit a brick wall exactly 90 minutes later. At 1500 BST, new Federal Reserve Chair Kevin Warsh delivers his first congressional testimony. Warsh just oversaw a dot plot that flipped from a cut to a possible hike. He will be answering questions based on the forward-looking reality of $76 crude, not the stale data from June. A hawkish Warsh refusing to endorse a soft, outdated CPI print has the power to violently reverse that 1330 relief rally inside of an hour. Carrying oversized directional risk into this specific 90-minute window is a mistake. The optimal execution is to wait for the dust to settle and for the post-testimony range to establish. To survive a synchronized hawkish shock, you have to ignore backward-looking headlines. Execution relies solely on trading the gap between structural market divergence and forward-looking monetary policy.
Hi guys, hope you enjoyed the weekly Edge video. If you want to see this every single week, or importantly, get the actual report sent to your email every single week, every Sunday, subscribe to our website, get on the list, then it's yours for free. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next week.